What's good with you, interweb? Your man Q back again with another video, and maybe y'all heard, but over the weekend, I think it was this weekend, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director Naoki Hamaguchi said that he believes Final Fantasy VII R Part 3, which I'm gonna keep calling Revelations. Look, you heard it here first. Final Fantasy VII Part 3 Revelations, because we already got Rebirth, or we shouldn't have got Remake, really. But anyway, he said that this game, Part 3, is going to be one of the most loved and popular games
forever. Forever. Forever.
In the entirety of video game history. I mean, that's serious talk. I mean, seriously, that's a bold statement to make. But if y'all remember, those of y'all that are old enough, or if you want them retro enthusiasts, y'all might remember that on the back of the 1997 Final Fantasy VII jewel case, it was quoted by GameFAQ magazine, which read, quite possibly the greatest game ever made, unquote. And even if you don't believe that it's the greatest game of all time, I mean, my favorite game is still Chrono Trigger. But I mean, right behind it is that 97, you know, Final Fantasy VII. And then watching how they expanded the entire world and each character felt the same but new. I guess it's one of them situations where you had to be there. So even if not, I mean, just looking back at it, if it ain't in your top 5, I can't really see Final Fantasy VII not being in most RPGs, people's top 10 list. That's kind of a tongue twister. But again, I get it. The game's damn near 30 years old. And if you didn't get a chance to play it when it first dropped, or if you did get a chance to play it, or you seen it, but your big brother was playing it and you couldn't fully concept it, I mean, I understand it. It happens. It's kind of like, you know, up there with that Star Wars big spoiler thing at this point also, where, you know, everybody knows that Darth Vader is Luke's daddy. It's up there also with, you know, the Aerith death. You know, get the elephant out of the room, guys. It's 27 years ago. But it's up there with, you know, Luffy's brother. Certain things that happen within these stories, you know, that you don't really have to be a fan of them. You'll just come along and hear these things in passing. So that could damper and put a wet towel on a lot of the Final Fantasy enthusiasm. Also because, well, there's literally close to 20 Final Fantasy game entries, and they said they gonna milk this mofo to its dry. But again, Final Fantasy was one of the first games to pioneer the FMVs, those full motion videos. It was the first Final Fantasy to have these full motion videos. It's also was one of the first ones to branch away from the medieval scene. Final Fantasy VI still had kind of like some medieval stuff in it, but it was more steampunk than this near futuristic type of science fiction direction. So for Hamaguchi to say this for me, that speaks that speaks volumes. But enough about me. Back to the story. Hamaguchi made these comments on a live presentation known as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Summoning a Masterpiece. Yoshinori Kitase was also there with him, which, of course, they talk all things Final Fantasy, and especially Final Fantasy Rebirth. When you think about the third and final game in the remake trilogy, it really does fill me with excitement, and I have such expectations towards it as well, said Kitase. I really hope that fans can have great expectations towards this game, and we will meet those expectations. We will definitely expand and make the world of Final Fantasy VII even bigger than now. And that's, again, saying a lot, because this was a big game. this was a huge game. This might be the year where if you only beat 3 big games or 3 games this year, I can see, because Final Fantasy VII, Rebirth, Persona 3, Reload, and Infinite Wealth, Yakuza Like a Dragon, or excuse me, Sega, my bad. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth are all 100 to 200 hour games, and them damn games all drop within the same month. That's crazy. But personally, for me, again, and switch it back, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the best Final Fantasy that I've played, personally, don't come for me yet, since Final Fantasy X. And yes, that includes Final Fantasy XII, which Ash should have been the star of her own game. Does anybody in the back disagree? Or the boys trip. Why couldn't we play it, Cindy? Why couldn't we? I'm Final Fantasy 15 Noctis, bro. I'm still waiting for that Luna DLC. And look, I know I'm gonna get some grief with this one because I got some folks that's really into this one, and I really enjoyed Final Fantasy 16, but Final Fantasy 16 did not feel like Final Fantasy to me. It was a great game, a really good game. Put over 100 hours in the game. Matter of fact, all these games on the list, I put over 100 hours in it. So before y'all come out here with your pitchforks, hold up. You know, hold up before you get nasty in them comments. Hold up. I put the time in, I put the work in. It just, for me, 16 felt like, well, Attack on Titan had a baby with Game of Thrones with Final Fantasy assets. It feels, most of these new modern Final Fantasies feel more European and Western open world sensed. And I know that's crazy what I just said with all the open world type elements that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth had, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth had some of the best characters, and that just are some of my favorite characters just in video game history. So I know those are still in that Hanabaru era, which is probably why I love the characters so much, but it feels like the story changed. For those of y'all know that have been playing for a while, you know, I mean, seriously. So maybe it's that whole reestablishing, or rather revisiting for me. You see what I just did there? Or from the characters of that from the characters from that time and that date. But again, it just felt different. It could also been that it really wasn't up until 16 that they were like a love story, an actual freaking main character's love story, which have become a commonplace and trope for so many Final Fantasies, which pulled at your heartstring. But okay. I mean, you know, the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. There's different Final Fantasy for different folks, I guess. Kitase also said that fan feedback from the first 2 games will be heavily reflected in the 3rd game, and promised that it'll be exactly what fans are looking for. He also described the 3rd game as a synergy of nostalgia and new innovation. I see what, you know, I see what he just did there. They also went on to discuss how there won't be any new Final Fantasy Revelations stuff anytime soon because it's still in development. You see, I'm trying to push that name. And that there'll be, he doesn't know he's going to be working with it on Unreal Engine only unless it feels like it can make a speedier development process more secure. I'm still hyped. I'm still have PSTD from PTSD from the events that happened in Rebirth, and what I want to see. I can't really go too far into it in this video because some of y'all might not have beat the game yet, but it's a lot of things that I do want to see that's going to come on into the new one. Chocobo breeding, we didn't get that on this one, so I think they were holding off for the next one. I also would like to see that they have the character swapping ability, because character swapping ability was available back when we were playing Final Fantasy X, and this game seems perfect for it because we already have our other characters in the backdrop waiting, and it's going to be a lot more context within the story. Are we going to see Genesis? Are we going to go into more Vincent's story, which delve more into the Lucretia stuff? Are we actually going to get to see Cid's marriage? Because, you know, is it speculated? Is he married? Is he not? You know, they've been kind of quirking and breaking dimensional molds and things in these different, in this new Final Fantasy VII Rebirth universe. So I'm anxious to see how all this plays. And Aerith, I just leave it at that. And Aerith, and how are we going to be able to fly the Highwind, the ship? It's so many different things. The weapons, the secret ultimate weapons. There's so many things to be excited for. And if they did want to do a Final Fantasy IX remake, I'm down for it. I'm also down for 8. And y'all are right. I skipped Final Fantasy 13 when I was talking about Final Fantasies earlier. That was intentional. One day I'll go back and play. I got to their version of the Comlands, and I just couldn't do it no more. I just couldn't do it. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check out the full Games Radar story. But that's all I got for y'all, interweb. What do you think? Do you think that Final Fantasy VII Part 3 Revelations has the potential to be one of the game GOATs? And have you played Rebirth? I know it's a long game and some of y'all are waiting for a 3-pack. I mean, I don't blame you, but you're missing out on some great quality. Whichever it is, let me know in the comments section below so we can get this conversation popping. I said pop-a-locking, popping. And if you have made it this far in the video, go ahead and hit that like button. It's free 99. And if you want to stay up to date with all things RPGs and all things geek, hit that subscribe button. I drop content here on the channel all the time. And as always, interweb, remember to eat, geek, sleep, repeat. I'll holler at y'all on the next one. Peace.